Hello and welcome. It is so good to have you with me today. Just as we're beginning, I just want to remind those of you who are watching this on the replay to remember to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to my channel. Doing all of those things helps to make these videos more visible to more people, and it really helps my channel, and I really appreciate your help with that. All right, so now we are going to be talking about dynamic iridology and what the irides teach us about digestion. You ready for this? I love that people are saying hello. So good to see you there. So good to see you there. Some of my students, some of my grads. Just a reminder that this information is meant for your education only. We never, ever use iridology to diagnose or prescribe. You are responsible for any results, good or bad, that you get from using this information. I do want to share a little bit about myself before we begin, just because we've got a lot of new people joining us today, and I'm so excited for that. I am a level 3 certified iridology instructor with IPA. And IPA has us renew our credentials every 2 years. And so I just actually sent in my renewal just last week. So we will be getting new badges in the next week or so, I would imagine. I've been a certified iridologist for decades and an iridology instructor for decades. I've written lots of different books about nutrition and herbs and things like that. They're all out of print right now, except for the Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology textbook, which is the book that is available to my students when they enroll in dynamic iridology. I've taught many, many courses on herbology, nutrition, improving health. I was a certified prenatal educator for many years, and now my passion is obviously teaching iridology, but also working with infertility, particularly PCOS and high-risk pregnancies. I am also a member of 2 different nutrition organizations, CanP and CanPro, and I'm a professional member also of the Alberta Herbalist Association. What I love about these associations is that in order to be a professional member of them, you have to prove your credentials. You have to prove you've got the training. And so that's really exciting to me, that to be affiliated with these groups. All right, that's enough about me. Are you ready to learn some iridology today? If you're ready, yeah, Chana's got it. She gave me the word ready. Thanks, Chana. And Holly's ready. Excellent, excellent. You bet. Fantastic. This is so good, so good. So good to see that so many of you are really with me this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are on the face of the planet. So today we are really focusing on the stomach. So while digestion actually takes in everything from the mouth right through the stomach, and then assimilation is the intestines and elimination is the colon, we are focusing primarily on the stomach. Of course, there are auxiliary organs that help with digestion as well. Liver does some work with that. So does pancreas, which is tucked in right back in here. But we are focusing today on the stomach. And this is going to be seriously a 30,000-foot overview. There are at least 3 stomach markers and some other general indicators in the eyes that can give us an idea of what this person's inherent potential is for how well they digest their food. And we're not going to get into all of those. We're going to focus on one today because there's just so much to pay attention to here. One of the things that we want to remember is that when we're talking about digestion at the stomach level, we are looking at the area closest to the pupil in each eye. That's our primary location for checking this out. I'm not going to talk about recommendations too much today. There's just so much to cover. So let's start with this beautiful slide. This is one of my dear friends. She and I, she's the kind of friend that, she lives in another city. We see each other maybe once or twice a year if we're lucky, and we just pick up where we left off. Do you have friends like that? It's amazing when you've got friends like that, right? Where it's like you haven't really been apart. Love that so much. So when we are looking at her eyes and we are seeing this area right in here, but especially I want to focus right on the inner edge of the iris, right up against the pupil. What I want you to look for is how uneven it looks, that it looks a little bit frayed, a little bit rough. So everything inside the collarette teaches us something about the digestive process, the potential for digestion. It doesn't tell us what's going on right now, but it tells us about the potential for the digestive process. Remember that as we're doing this, digestive capabilities change with age. So you also have to take that into account here. There is no one marking that is a guarantee of anything in the eyes. And that's true when we're talking about digestion as well. We are simply seeing an inherent predisposition. And that means we need to have a conversation with our client to correlate their symptoms with their markers, with our understanding of anatomy and physiology in order to do a valid assessment. And we're going to land on some anatomy and physiology in a moment, but you'll see how important it is to have that anatomy and physiology course under your belt before you learn iridology. It's absolutely critical. People, again, can have many digestive markers and they might not have any symptoms. It could be that they're too young, as in their body hasn't broken down. It could be that they're doing enough of the right kinds of things to support their digestion, so they are doing a great job of stalling off problems. I've often seen people that have no digestive markers, but they've got digestive problems. It's like, well, what's that all about? And that is because, of course, you can earn the right to have a problem. Even if genetically your body says, oh, this is a robust area, this is a really strong, healthy area, you do all the right things to break that area down and you will break it down, right? Not uncommon to see that. It's not uncommon for me to see an eye like this in someone who's like 55 or 60, and they're coming in now and they're saying, I don't understand it. I was never sick a day in my life, but as soon as I turned 50, I started to fall to pieces. Right. And it's like, yeah, well, and that's not the case of this person because she's very careful with her health. But, you know, I see an eye like this with a story like that. And the answer is, well, I'm betting that you did not take care of yourself for the first 45 years. Well, what do you mean by that? And we go over diet, we go over lifestyle, we go over how they've abused their system. And it's like, okay, so you've driven it into the ground. You have not helped it to rebuild. So now we've got work ahead of us. So we can, again, see symptoms in someone who has no markers. We can see symptoms. We may see no symptoms in someone who has markers. More commonly, we see symptoms in someone who's got markers, right? And so on the basic level, there are 3 specific markers that teach us about digestion at the stomach level. And remember, these are predispositions only. There are several other organs that have an impact, as we mentioned on the first slide with the diagram of the gut. Lots of other organs that have an impact on the digestive process. And so we need to understand those interactions as well as we are learning iridology. So again, we're going to be focusing on this very inner edge of the iris. So I'm just curious, how many of you are pretty new to iridology, and how many of you have been around iridology and studying it for a while? If you're new, just give me new in the chat box. And if you've actually taken a course in iridology already, give me the word course in the chat box. So we've got lots of new people. Okay. Fantastic. Love it. So good. So I'm going to really take this to a level for the new people, because those of you who've been in a course, and many of you are have put course down, are my students or my graduates. So I know you know this, and this is a good review for you. But for my new people, for those of you who are kind of new here, what I want you to understand is that this edge is very difficult to see really clearly without good magnification. So if you are looking at somebody's eyes, and maybe you're using a handheld lighted magnifying glass, you may not see this very clearly. So you just need to know that there's a lot of people who have this. If it's this prominent, like it is in this eye, you might see it with handheld equipment, but most of the time you're probably going to need a good camera, the right kind of camera to be able to see this. And the right kind of camera is not a $200 iriscope that connects to your computer with an 8 megapixel resolution. That is not the right kind of camera. So when we see this edge where it looks like someone took little scissors and snipped in on the edge, can you see how it looks like someone's just cut little bits out of the edge to fray the edge of this? If you can see that, give me fray in the comments box. If you can see that rough edge where it looks like it's been snipped, give me fray in the comments box. Excellent. So you're seeing this. So good, so good. That's what we are looking for. We have a technical name for this: comb teeth, because it kind of looks like the teeth on a comb. Not present in everyone, but if it is present, it is inherent. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do to get rid of it from the eye. And really, honestly, who cares if we get rid of it from the eye? What this is teaching us is that there is an insufficient or inefficient stomach lining. So I want you to think back in your anatomy and physiology. We'll look at an image of this in a couple of slides, but I want you to start thinking back in your anatomy and physiology training. How is the stomach lining structured? What different secretions does the stomach lining produce? And what are their individual roles? Okay, those are really important questions. And if you honestly don't have answers for those, then I'm really going to encourage you to take an anatomy and physiology course to prepare yourself to enroll in a good iridology course. Okay, so when we do an assessment, we need to, and we see comb teeth, we are going to need to be able to describe to our client not only what we are seeing in their eyes, but what it means to them for their health. We're going to need to be able to describe that stomach lining to them so that as we make recommendations of the different things they can do diet-wise and supplement-wise to help support that stomach lining, it will make sense to them. Right, so you need to have very simple ways of describing what the structure looks like and what the function is. So important. And I mean, you need that depth of information about all of the organs in order to do iridology well, which is why A&P is a prerequisite for the dynamic iridology course. So again, looking at another example, you can see how this looks snipped again, right? Like somebody just cut little snips into the edge of this iris. And this is telling us again that this stomach lining is likely unable to, or has an inherent predisposition towards being unable to secrete the digestive acids and the mucus that the stomach creates, because your stomach creates mucus, and this is one place where we need some mucus. But the stomach lining is unable to do that in useful amounts. So what does that mean? If this person, and this is a fellow in his late 60s, so it's highly likely that this symptom or that this iris marker is manifesting as symptoms now, right? Because we start to lose our stomach enzymes and acids at the age of 35. And by the age of 55, we're typically down by half. All right. And so what kinds of symptoms might we see in someone who's not secreting enough stomach mucus to start with? And then what symptoms would we see from the fallout of that? Any idea? If the stomach's not secreting mucus, what are we going to see? Pain and ulcers. Yep, that's good. Absolutely. We will likely see that. And if the stomach's not secreting enough mucus, what else will it not be secreting enough of? Shanna says, we'll see burping and gas. The burping and gas isn't just from the mucus, it's from the, Heather, love it, yes, HCl. We're not going to see enough HCl. We're not going to see enough pepsin. And that means we're not going to digest what? What do we need pepsin and hydrochloric acid to digest? Proteins, absolutely proteins. And so if we're not digesting proteins well, what will be the symptoms of that? I'm hoping I've got everybody starting to think, yeah, we're going to see bad smelling gas. We might see weakness, smelly gas, eye-watering, room-clearing gas. There's one of my students for you. Prolapse, not so much a prolapse here. Not so much a prolapse. This isn't about holding things in place so much as it is about function. What are some other things you might see from poor hydrochloric acid and pepsin secretion and poor protein digestion? Slow wound healing, absolutely, that's a huge one. You might also see unbalanced blood sugars, right? Lowered energy, yeah. So do you see how the anatomy and physiology is so critical? It's not one marker means one thing. It's one marker is the first domino to fall, and then you follow it through physiologically on a chemistry level to figure out what you're looking at. Okay, so there's a lot of other digestive indicators, but we're not going to delve into those today. Let's take a look at that stomach lining. This is from my all-time favorite textbook, the anatomy coloring book. I highly recommend that anybody who is interested in health, in learning health, anyone who's a practitioner of health, whether you're holistic or not, if you don't have the anatomy coloring book and its companion, the physiology coloring book, and no, I don't get royalties for recommending these. I only wish I did for the hundreds that I'm sure I'm responsible for selling. These are really excellent. They do not replace a good anatomy and physiology class or course, but they certainly add to it. So when we are looking at the stomach, this is the outer wall of the stomach. This is if you were dissecting someone and you cut open their abdomen, this is the layer you would be seeing. And as you opened the stomach up, this is what you would see. This is the lumen of the stomach, or the hollow area of the stomach. And this is what that stomach lining itself looks like. When we take a little section of it, this is what it looks like even further. And so when we look at what's labeled as F1 or F prime here, these are mucus cells. These are mucus cells. Now, this is really important because pepsin and hydrochloric acid are there to digest protein. The stomach is simply protein. It's a muscle, it's protein. And so we need this mucus layer in order to be able to, for the stomach to withstand the protein levels it's supposed to secrete. Or sorry, not protein, the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin levels it is supposed to secrete. So the body is smart. If these cells are not secreting enough mucus, then the, where are they? These cells that secrete hydrochloric acid and these cells that secrete pepsinogen, which becomes pepsin, will reduce their output, right? Because the body's smart. It doesn't want to digest itself. So when we've got poor protein digestion, smelly gas, an inability to digest meat, where they eat meat, they consume meat, and they say it feels like a brick sitting in my stomach. I feel tired after I eat meat. I don't feel good when I eat animal protein. It's because 9 times out of 10, they don't have the mucus here, and the body has reduced its production of the enzymes to break the protein down. Is this making sense? If this is making sense, give me make sense in the comments box. Is this making sense? Yeah? Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, this is the kind of depth that we don't go into all of this, but this is the connecting of the dots is what we do in dynamic iridology. You learn the nuts and bolts, and then we learn how to connect them to your client's symptoms. So we're not just looking at an eye and saying, well, you've got this wrong, you've got this wrong, you've got this wrong, because you don't know that. What you see in the eyes is a predisposition to a genetic thing, a genetic situation. But without a conversation with your client, without understanding what their diet is like, their lifestyle, you have no idea really what you're working with. You're just looking at a bunch of possibilities. Okay. And so as we look at this client, again, look at this inner edge. It looks like somebody has snipped it out, right? It's uneven. So this again is someone who's got the comb teeth. She's in her 50s. Again, our enzymes and our stomach acids start to decrease by the time we're 35. By the time we're 55, they're down by half. So we have, common questions to ask here. Are there foods you've learned to avoid because they don't feel good in your stomach? Do you get burpy or farty when you eat proteins, or 12 to 24 hours after that? If you're farty, what is the odor? Is it absolutely eye-watering, room clearing? That's a protein problem, right? When they eat protein, if they feel nauseous, highly likely they are not secreting enough of the digestive enzymes, and that protein is putrefying in their gut, right? And so we want to make sure that as we're seeing this, that we ask the right questions. The eyes don't give us answers. They teach us what questions to ask. How many of you have heard that you can tell everything that's wrong by looking at the eyes? If you've heard that, give me eyes in the comments box. Can look at your eyes and tell you everything that's wrong with you. Yeah, you've all heard that? Absolute wrong. It's absolutely wrong. I could use stronger language for that, but I'm a lady. Sometimes I'm not going to use stronger language, but it's absolutely wrong. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is simply predispositions. This is a young boy. He was 10 years old when we took these photos, diagnosed with a doctor, ADHD rather. And so he is sympathetic dominant. So his eyes tell us that his sympathetic nervous system runs the show. He's always on edge. And that doesn't mean he's cranky, but it means he's always waiting for the next crisis to go off. So what do you know about people who are sympathetic dominant and how that affects their digestion? I want you to think back again to your anatomy and physiology, where you learned about sympathetic and parasympathetic. What are the effects of the sympathetic nervous system on the digestive processes? Excellent answers coming in on the chat box. Digestion stops or slows, HCl production decreases to prepare for fight or flight, right? We're diverting circulation away from digestion, which is not important when you're running from a bear, and we're sending that circulation to the large muscles, and the blood pressure is going to go up so that we can get that blood circulating faster to oxygenate the muscles and get the glucose to the muscles so we can run faster, right? And so when you've got someone who is sympathetic dominant, they don't spend a lot of time in a parasympathetic mode, and they're not going to secrete digestive acids and juices very well. And so we need, when we have someone who is sympathetic dominant, and you can see the little teeny comb teeth in here. Can you see that? Little teeny comb teeth just along the edge here. We need to get these people to stop, take a breath, put their behind in a chair for 15 minutes to eat their meal. Literally to just let the parasympathetic nervous system have a few minutes on stage. That can really help to get the digestion going here. Children and adults who are ADD, ADHD tend to not sit still for very long. And they tend to not focus very well. They're the people who will have their phone at the table. They'll be scrolling while they're eating. Not a good idea. We need to focus on eating. And these are the people who will not chew their food. I accuse them of unhinging their jaw and swallowing their prey whole. Stomach doesn't have teeth. Yeah, it doesn't have teeth. If you don't chew it here, it doesn't get chewed anywhere else, right? And so we need to take these people who are sympathetic dominant and slow them down. especially when we see the comb teeth, because the comb teeth already say prone to not enough secretions at the stomach level. Sympathetic dominance says we're shutting that down anyways because we know there's going to be a crisis, right? And so they really are at risk of compromised digestion. Do you know anyone who's like that, who doesn't chew their food? They eat too quickly, they eat on the run, and they've got digestive symptoms. Do you know anyone like that? Yeah, some of you, yeah. And you know what boggles my mind is they don't get it. They think their digestive tract, especially their stomach, should work perfectly when they pay it no attention, right? Yeah. So this is a little girl. Was 4 years old when we took these photos. Look at those comb teeth. These are inherited. This is an inherent potential. This is not something she's done to herself. It's not something her parents have done to her. They haven't fed her the wrong foods. She's a very loved child. She's an IVF baby, and her mother feeds this child better than her mother feeds herself. We've had conversations about that. And so we just really focus with this little girl. Again, she is sympathetic dominant. And so with this little girl, it's a matter of encouraging the family to sit and eat the meal together, take time, have pleasant conversation, maybe even have music playing in the background, not the television, but some music. Encourage everyone to chew their food better, right? And just teach them how to relax at mealtime so that they can enjoy the meal and digest it better, so they can turn on those digestive processes. Here again, we've got some very prominent comb teeth. Now, some other things that can affect digestion. Again, there's some other specific stomach markers, but even when we see pigment sitting in that nutritive zone, so that area between the pupillary border and the collarette, when we see pigment sitting in there, it teaches us about different organs that can have an impact on the digestive processes. And those organs may need support as well, right? We may need to do that through diet, through lifestyle, through supplements. So this is a teacher who has a yoga teacher rather. She has the potential for digestive concerns, lots of different types of markers in her nutritive zone, but especially the comb teeth. But she is a very mindful eater. She is predominantly vegetarian, not full-on vegan, but vegetarian. Being a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher, she is very much about being present in the moment. And so when she eats, she's eating. She's not watching television. She's not reading a book. She's not scrolling on her phone. She's with her husband. She's with her little girl, and they're eating. And that's all they're doing. And so because of that, at this age, I'm not concerned about her. Will I still watch her digestion as she gets older? Absolutely, I will. Absolutely, I will. I'm always going to be wanting to know burpy, gassy, farty, problems digesting certain foods that don't feel good. That information helps me to know more about how her digestive processes are morphing with age, right? Nothing stays the same. The perfect diet, the perfect lifestyle, the perfect supplements at the age of 30 will not be the perfect diet, lifestyle, or supplements at the age of 40. And that's, again, where the eyes, which are not going to, we're not going to get rid of any of these markers over time. That doesn't happen. We may accumulate more pigment in the eye over time. But as we put all of that together with our clients' symptoms as they age, we have a deeper understanding of what we need to be doing to support them, how we need to be coaching them along to protect their health as they age. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me aging in the comments box. Aging, yeah? Yeah. And I love that about iridology. The sclera, of course, does change, and it can show areas that are becoming hot spots. It can also show areas that are getting are being resolved. And so we will often pull the sclera into an iris analysis to help us monitor current situations as well. So again, this lovely client, we will watch her digestion over time to help her stay well, and protect her health. I love what Bernard Jensen said. After your meal, sit a while, then walk a mile. Such very, very good advice. We've come a long way in iridology since Dr. J. We love him for all the good he did and for the fact that he kept iridology alive in North America during the Cold War. There has been a lot of research since then, and iridology has really changed since what Dr. Jensen taught. And so that's an important thing for us to recognize as well, is that it is still an evolving science. There's more research going on, and we want to pay attention to that research and prove that research to see if it is correct or not. So here's the thing that you want to be aware of with iridology. Some of you who've studied iridology in the past may have felt like you needed to write long reports about the eyes to give to your clients. How many of you have done that, where you've seen a client and felt you needed to write a lengthy report listing everything you saw, everything they need to do, all that kind of stuff? Chana says, nope, thanks to you. Love it, Chana. If that's you, no shame here, none whatsoever, because that's how we were taught. That's how I was originally taught when I was a Jensenian iridologist. What I know with constitutional is I don't need to write reports anymore. I haven't written reports in decades. Constitutional, the way we teach it, Martha says she does long reports. Oh, Martha, my heart goes out to you. That's so much time down the tubes, right? With constitutional iridology, we can do our assessments more quickly. We can do them more accurately. We can build better and faster rapport because as our client has told us what their symptoms are, we correlate it to the eyes and we ask questions that are relevant to our client in that moment. That builds rapport. Your client knows you've heard them and you're digging deep to understand their problem and to help them along. And it eliminates the need for an intake form, a questionnaire. Always have a release form. They always sign a release form, absolutely. But never have your clients fill out a questionnaire. I've never had a client complain about that. My clients love that we have a conversation, right? They love that. They want that. And I'm able to do the iris assessment as far as we need to accomplish it to help them with their current problem right in the appointment. And I'm able to build their program right in the appointment. And then as we make progress with that problem, we can continue to look at the eyes, the eye photos, and can from there branch out into doing broader, more preventive work. But the client does not need to know everything in one appointment, and don't waste your life writing a report. So that leads me to introducing the dynamic iridology assessment system. The course is starting again on January 25th. This is for health professionals, and I define health professionals as someone who has completed a college level anatomy and physiology course. And I use that definition because for two reasons. In order to certify as an iridologist with the International Iridology Practitioners Association, you will have to show proof of having completed a college level A&P course with a grade over 80%. And I require it because when my students have A&P before they come into iridology, we can go so much deeper, just like we did at the beginning of this when we talked about stomach lining structure, and then we talked about how things all connect. You can only do that if you've got A&P. I think of it this way, the liver does over 500 different things. Yet most of us get stuck on the idea that it filters, and it doesn't filter anything, right? And so if you need to be able to list at least five things the liver does, right? In order to say you know what the liver does. And that's not very much, that's 1%. So the dynamic iridology, I call it DIAS, D-I-A-S, is the only live online fully mentored course for people who have that anatomy and physiology under their belt and they want to streamline their clinical work without sacrificing client care, because they are tired of working unpaid overtime, writing reports, creating protocols, and they're tired of overwhelming their clients with protocols that are just not manageable. And they want their clients to be coming back. When you throw a lengthy report at your client, chances are 9 out of 10 they're not coming back. And you probably already know the statistics that it's more expensive to find a new client than it is to retain one. So when you do iridology the way I teach you to do it, you stop overwhelming your clients. It will increase their long-term success and their long-term retention. And that's what you want. I've got clients who stuck with me from my early years as a Jensenian, bless them. So I've got clients that have been with me for over 4 decades now, right? Very cool stuff, very cool stuff. They fade in and out of my practice. And I know that happens because we get them feeling good. They'll go off because they're feeling good. They'll feel great for a couple of years, 4 or 5 years. They get older, something shifts, they come back, see them for another 4, 5, 6 appointments, get them back on track. They're feeling good. We send them off, right? And they ebb and the flow. And that's exactly what I want to have happen. I don't want to see them every month for the rest of their life. That's ridiculous, right? So this course is taught by live webinars, highly interactive. Shanna is saying, oh, I've got some students here that are giving me some love. Thank you so much. Shanna says, highly recommend it. I'm currently about halfway through and absolutely loving it. Book a call with Judith and have a chat with her and bring a cup of tea. Peggy says, I have to go. I recommend any course from Judith. She's the best hands-on lady. Make sure you understand. She makes sure you understand what she's teaching. Love her. Thanks, girls, so much. Really appreciate that so much. So just some details about the course. 20 weeks, 2.25 to 2.5 hours per class. We meet once a week. It's very interactive, more interactive than what we've got today, because your mics are open, your cameras are on, we're having conversations. You're not just putting things in a chat box. Each session is recorded and uploaded to your student site for review, or if you have to miss a class, you can pick it up later. Group mentoring via webinars twice each month. The textbook is downloadable. You don't have to buy a new textbook. It's right there for you in your student site. Your study notes, your extra study notes are right there. I limit my student groups to no more than 10 students per group. I believe students learn better in small groups. And I also include one-on-one mentoring for certification preparation for the IPA certification exam. So if you already have that college level A&P, or you are a licensed practitioner like an RN, an LMT, an ND, an MD, anything like that, we should talk. If learning iridology is something that's on your to-do list this year, we should talk. We'll have a Zoom call to talk about that. And it's like Chenna says, you bring a cup of tea and we'll just talk. I want to find out what your goals are, what you know about iridology, what you don't know about iridology. And Chenna says, yes, don't bring coffee. When you're my student, you'll understand why. So I'm inviting you to book a call. Let's talk about the course. Yes, it starts on the 25th, which is just next week. So you're getting in just under the wire, which is so good. So good. Let's talk. Julie Brooks said she's a registered nurse who left mainstream medicine, and she studied functional nutrition and is just starting her practice integrating iridology and nutrition. This is my first iridology course. However, in my CNHP course, we were given a 3-hour lesson on iridology in a nutshell. You can't learn anything in 3 hours. That lecture and study material left me more confused than before I knew anything at all. Judith's diagnosis has been an incredible experience, and we are just halfway through, so she wasn't finished yet. Her teaching materials are thorough and easy to follow. The charts are invaluable and so insightful. I left Western Med a while ago in favor of natural health. I've been an RN for 22 years, and now she's primarily working with her family. So great. Veronica's also giving me some love. She's another one of my students saying, Judith, Angela Hodges is a registered dental hygienist, and she's been interested in holistic health for a lot of years, been studying things on her own. And what she said about the course is, what a fantastic course with a fantastic teacher that actually cares about your success. I'm so happy I found her. I had never even thought about being an iridologist, although I'd periodically looked for one to go to nearby with no avail. I had one session 20 years ago, thought it was amazing. And now she's actually working on starting, she has her hygienist business, but she's working on starting her own business as a wellness coach. Veronica says, Judith's course is true, the best course. Thank you so much. Kimberly Sedalis, oh my goodness. She said, and she's got a lot of training under her belt. She has a master's degree as a radiologist and lots of training in Eastern and Western medicine. If you're wondering which iridology course to take, you can stop looking. You found it. Judith Cobb is an excellent instructor with many years of experience. She's a caring and compassionate person who is dedicated to the field of iridology and her students. She goes on to say she makes it easy for her students to balance work, life, and study. So love that so much. So again, I would love it if you are at all interested in learning iridology at a professional level, not at a hobby level, and not at a level where you learn the nuts and bolts, but you don't learn how to apply it. If you're ready to talk about that, then use that link that I posted, the tinyurl.com / dynamic iridology. And there's the link again. Let's talk. Let's just talk. No high pressure here. If it's a good fit, I'll invite you to enroll. If it's not, I'll coach you in another direction. And so there we have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed and learned something, benefited from being here with me for the last 40 minutes or so. I hope you now can identify comb teeth and you understand the significance of comb teeth and how to work with a client who has comb teeth, at least asking them the right questions and being able to explain what's going on. In dynamic iridology, we do talk about potential recommendations to make as well. So it's not just iridology. We include nutrition and herbology, lifestyle. Sometimes we throw in some aromatherapy, lots of tools there to help you get started if you don't have other modalities under your belt. So just wondering if there are any questions here. Chana saying, thank you so much, Judith. Always learn something and have a good time. So glad you enjoyed this, Chana. So glad. And I'm so glad that you are learning things, even though you're in the course, that these extra little minis are helpful to rounding that out for you. So good. So very good. I don't know if we've got any questions coming in. If you are quickly typing a question, raise your hand in the chat box or in the, raise your hand. Use the raise hand icon so I know to wait for you. Otherwise, we will be done for today. And again, in that link, you're going to see a schedule for dates and times that are available to schedule a call with me, to talk about the course, to talk about where you're at, to talk about whether this is a good fit or not. With that, my friends, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being with me today. So good to have you. We will hopefully see you next week, and hopefully I'll see many of you on a call in the next few days. Bye for now.